Hey, nice people, how you doing? So, what we have here is something quite amazing to show. This is what I covered in a previous video. This is one of the best new insights into Giza from yours truly. It's what the archaeologists should have been working on. I'd appreciate if you shared this around. This explains everything, and we see correspondences between Giza and Teotihuacan in Mexico, the city of the Toltecs. The city of the Teotihuacan civilization. We see a pyramid of the sun, a pyramid of the moon, and a pyramid of the feathered serpent very tentatively at Giza. We see the Giza versions of this, just like we see over at Teotihuacan. Here we have the Avenue of the Dead proceeding from the Pyramid of the Moon, and you'd be wondering, why is the Avenue of the Dead coming out of the Pyramid of the Moon? We're going to explain that. It's such a cool video we got lined up for you today, so I hope you enjoy. Now, let's just look at what's going on at Teotihuacan with a plan. So, what we have is we have a north-south moon pyramid, and there's a north-south alignment. Then we have a sun pyramid, which is facing east-west. The sun pyramid is the big one. And we also have a small pyramid, the pyramid of the feathered serpent, also facing east-west. So let's try and look at this remarkable correspondence with Giza, the three pyramids, and let's try and see what's going on. In addition, the size of the sun pyramid is the size on the ground of the Giza Great Pyramid. So we have a correspondence between the sun pyramid and the Khufu pyramid. So let's see what the archaeologists, I guess, should have been getting up to all these decades and centuries, and they never did, because it takes a little bit of effort to plug in a bit of stuff into the software. All this stuff about the star shafts in the 90s, all these epic documentaries and controversies and all this, and no one bothered to check these much more obvious, to my knowledge, alignments. So let's have a look. The holy days of the pyramid processionals, as I call them, which are the causeways of the Great Pyramids. And we mentioned this in a previous video, but it was at the end of the video, and I didn't really put it into a picture. A picture tells 1,000 words, so I hope you can see what's going on here. So the Khufu pyramid seems to point to abundance and sun. It seems to be the pyramid of the sun. It's the furthest pyramid towards the east. Now the sun is rising in the east, and what you have happening is, look what's happening here. The eastern cemetery, big mastabas, very big. This was Khufu's family. Over here, the workers and the architect Hamon, and just the workers, and they're in the shadow of the pyramid of the rising sun because they're not as important. They're here. They have a privileged place, of course. They helped out, and Khufu will need his workers in the afterlife wherever he's buried. I don't think it's the pyramid. It's probably here. There's a massive mastaba here for, I believe that's for Khufu Khaf, possibly the Khafra himself. We don't know, but this was a privileged position to be buried right there, close to the sun. So what does it point to? Well, as mentioned in the previous video, April 22nd, the spring breeze, but also we're looking at mountain ritual and mountain worship. And why not? Because it's a mountain. So we have transfiguration, which is basically a festival of the mountain. Jesus took his disciples on this particular date, supposedly, up a mountain, and he started shining like the sun. So it's like he's turning into the sun god on top of a mountain. And of course, he was copying Moses, who did the same thing. So it's a mountain festival that's happening, right? And that's really cool. And he's shining like the sun. It's the rebirth of the sun. It's around Easter, and it's basically the sun is coming back. This is the pyramid of the sun, east-west facing. So now we move on to the pyramid of the moon. Now, I'm calling this causeway the Avenue of the Dead because you're actually going to this guy, the Sphinx, who is possibly Anubis, who is a god of the underworld, god of the dead, right? And Anubis is making sure the scales are being weighed up, while Toph is the scribe who writes down how much your heart weighs. Your heart needs to weigh less than a feather in order to get into the afterlife. And if we're going to correspond this with the pyramid of the moon in the New World, we have to see, well, why would this be the pyramid of the dead, the pyramid of the moon? And it's quite simple. It points to Halloween. So this is actually tallying up with what's going on. And in addition, it points to a festival called the entrance into the temple by the Holy Child. So Jesus going into the temple. But it was a much older ritual than Jesus, and people that are going to be confused about this, they're going to thumbs down the video and say, Charles, Jesus was a much more recent. Yeah, I know how the comments operate, you know. And here's the thing, there's actually 2 temples there, or even 3. There's a New Kingdom temple nearby as well. So this was a temple area, temples all around the Great Sphinx. So that means they placed the pyramid here if the Sphinx was pre-existing, and then decided what the alignment was going to be, that it was going to point to this festival date in relation to the Sphinx. So the position of the Khafre pyramid was placed in relation to this. Fascinating. So a temple ritual and lots of temples. So this fits, and this isn't my opinion. Nothing in this video is my opinion. This is all actual fact. Menkaure. Pyramid of Menkaure points to the equinoxes, so 20 March, 22 September. So these are the Nile festival, the festival celebrating the abundance of the Nile. And the Nile is, of course, a serpent. And the bottom pyramid in the Teotihuacan layout is the pyramid of the feathered serpent. So is there a correspondence? Well, yes, because the Nile serpents its way through Egypt. It's very nice. This was also known as the red pyramid or the coloured pyramid. It's got red stones around it. Red stones covered this pyramid. It's the red snake, the red Satan. And you will see that these dates match up to what is going on at Teotihuacan. The pyramid of the sun, it's most towards the east facing the sun. The pyramid of the moon, a little bit different. This would be an avenue of the dead. It's pointing to the dead. The Halloween, they have a festival with the dead. You dress as a ghoul to talk to the dead. And the Nile festival, possibly the feathered serpent pyramid. Exactly what is going on in Mexico. The same kind of culture. And the dates fit nicely, indeed. And it's a mountain ritual. Something that would have been done on the mountain. Now, the character, if you look up my historical Jesus videos, the character who was associated with Pontius Pilate, only one of the possible historical contenders was associated with Pontius Pilate, and this is the guy I think became the mainstay of the historical Jesus. He died in about the right time, just the right time to fit the historical Jesus in terms of dating. Though other Jesuses probably, other prophets later on probably fit themselves into the story as well, and they became part of the story in later centuries. But what happened was, this guy, the Samaritan prophet, he was about to take his followers up to Mount Gezrahim, probably on August the 19th, to celebrate this Transfiguration festival. And Mount Gezrahim was the previous place before Jerusalem, which was holy to the Jews, and presumably Jerusalem took over when Israel split in half because the king, after Solomon, Rehoboam, said, lower the taxes. Are you kidding? He was probably 20 years old, and he was probably, extremely confident about his own abilities, and he said, if you thought my dad taxed you too hard, wait till you see what I'm going to do. And the whole north rebelled, and he only had the tiny Judea kingdom for the rest of his life as a result, and he couldn't get back the north. But Transfiguration. So this fellow, this Samaritan prophet at Mount Gezrahim, he took his followers up the mountain. He was about to. Pontius Pilate arrived on the cavalry. This is history. This is not the Bible. This is what Josephus wrote. And he started slaying them and killing them, and we don't know what happened to this particular Samaritan prophet. He was probably executed by Pilate. Pilate was a very corrupt, typical Roman. He seems to have had a lot of sarcasm in the way he treated people, and this has gotten into the Bible in a confused sort of way. You're not sure if he's mocking Jesus or whether he's helping Jesus or supporting Jesus or he's indifferent or what. And this seems to be one of the people who became the mainstay of the Jesus, what became known as the prophet Jesus. So this is what's going on. Now, what do you think of the correspondences? We've got the same thing happening at Rome. So at Rome, as we've seen in the previous video, we had this pyramid here of Romulus. So this is the foundation of Rome. There were lots of other pyramids around. So we have 1, 2, 3 big pyramids, a Roman Giza, in addition, circuses, hippodromes, all the people living here on this side of the river, and on this side, plenty of look, it's on the west side of the river, just like in Giza. The pyramid's on the west side, you see. Though there are pyramids on the other side as well. It looks like there were lots of Roman pyramids. This was drawn in the 1500s, a reconstruction by a famous architect. And we see a north-south, this is north-south Avenue of the Dead. This here is the current alignment of the Vatican and where the Vatican is, an equinoctial temple. And it seems pyramids, pyramid-like things were set up on an alignment. A triple pyramid there, a obelisk, a triple pyramid there, and the same thing here. It's like the 9 pyramids at Giza, possibly 3 pyramids in the middle, 1, 2, and then a third one just hiding in there. And you have a equinoctial alignment, you have a north-south alignment, and it seems the Romans built their funerary games, or whatever these games were, these horse racing games, around this much older cult of their ancestors. And that's what we see happening at Teotihuacan. You have this north-south alignment, and you have the equinoctial alignments. What do you think of this? I'd appreciate you sharing this discovery, because this is way bigger than what's going on in the whole Orion mystery. That's nothing compared to this. This is huge. So now here's another thing. Khufu is slightly bigger than the pyramid of Khafre. So that's the sun, that's the moon. So the sun is slightly bigger than the moon, and the sun is also behind the moon. So the sun is behind the moon there, and it's also facing the sun. What do you think of that? There's a totally new understanding of Giza. I really hope you enjoy this video, and we can start to see correspondences in a worldwide pyramid building, mountain worshipping culture with mountains as basically surrogate pyramids in a land without mountains. Hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a lot of fun finding this out, and I appreciate all of you.